Welcome back to the Jon Krawcynski Show, part of TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, and we're presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Thanks again to Aquarius Home Services.
Scott for Aquarius, where we make home services easy. Summer's wrapping up, and those cold, crisp mornings are on the way. Is your furnace ready for the change of seasons? Upgrade now with 36 months 0% financing, and stay comfy from the last warm afternoon to the cold winter ahead. Beat Mother Nature at her own game. Schedule your free estimate at AquariusHomeservices.com. Financing based on credit approval. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
All right, John, you were up very late last night. I was up late, but I wasn't with you. We're talking here on Tuesday morning. The Wolves are now 2-2. And in their losses, they have not played very good defense. We'll get to that, but let's start with the obvious big picture, big story for the franchise. Anthony Edwards' hamstring. What are you hearing?
Yeah, this is kind of the first time really for, most of Ant's career that the Wolves have had to try and prepare for life without him for a little while. I mean, he had missed 6 games in his second season with COVID. But other than that, I mean, he's missed a game here or a game there. And now this is going to be a more extended stretch when the plan right now is to have him go for a week off and then be reevaluated. But everything that I've heard and all the people that I've talked to is I think they are going to be somewhat cautious about making sure that he's fully healthy before he comes back with these soft tissue injuries. You just never can be too careful about giving the guy a little bit more time, because if he comes back too early and aggravates it, then it goes from a 10-day or 2-week injury to a 4 to 6 week injury, and they don't want that. And so I am anticipating that he is going to be out essentially for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll see where he's at. It's the first time that he's had one of these soft tissue injuries. He's had ankles, he's had a little sore knee here, he's had a back thing once in a while, but this is a hamstring, and that's a little bit different. And so they're treating it that way. They're going to take it easy on him, but they also do not think that as of right now, the severity is such that he's going to miss extended time because of it. But we're looking at about 8 games without him. And as we could see from the first one against Denver on Monday night, they're going to miss him.
Yes, they are. And, my long life of sports writing, it's amazing how often we all express consternation about what playing time and who's going to get a chance, and will this person be buried on the bench or have their role reduced. And as soon as we get to a point of heightened consternation, an injury clears it all up. So Mike Conley out of the starting lineup. Anthony Edwards gets hurt. Mike Conley back in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's, you looked at it and kind of going into Target Center last night, I was trying to think about which way Chris Finch would go with Anthony Edwards out. But it shouldn't be much of a surprise that he goes to Mike Conley. He's kind of the safety blanket. He has not played well to start the season, but there is a belief in Chris Finch and really in the team that when Mike Conley gets a little bit more extended minutes, that he could actually play better. And I thought against the Nuggets, he played pretty well. It wasn't super effective. It wasn't overly productive, but it was steady. And I think that's what Chris Finch wanted in that role is steady. Mike Conley is the best guy to get Rudy Gobert some touches on offense. And you may think that sounds ridiculous to get Rudy Gobert touches on offense, but it is one of those things where you have to get him a little bit involved to make him some kind of a threat. And also when he has the ball in his hands a little bit, when he gets a shot or two, I think he's a little more engaged defensively as well. And so Mike Conley can help with that. His shooting is still good. And his defense is okay. But I do think that over these next 2 weeks, you will see Chris Finch kind of tinker around with that spot. It doesn't mean that Conley's going to be there the whole time. Maybe one night it's Terrence Shannon Jr., maybe one night it's Bones Highland, Jalen Clark, Rob Dillingham. Like there's going to be guys that kind of cycle through that depending on what's needed. And and who is playing well. But to start things out, I really wasn't surprised that Conley was the choice. And I do think that he looked much better in that role than he has in the first couple of games of the season, because he just was not playing well at all in that spot. And so we'll see if this kind of shift kind of helps get him into a different rhythm and gets him going a little bit.
And of course, the Edwards injury, Jalen Clark being out as well. Dillingham ends up playing a little bit on Monday night. He was a DNP coach's decision in game 1. He got hurt in game 2, was out in game 3. So what'd you think? And what does he have to do to get back into some kind of a rotational role?
Yeah. So, I do think it's what I expected from him in that game, because the first shift was pretty good. He had a couple of turnovers, but you could see sort of the juice that he brought to the offense. He was running pick and roll very effectively. He was moving the ball, probably almost too much. He needed to, I think, look for his own shot just a little bit more. But all in all, I thought that he was effective in his minutes. I think he was a +1 in his first 9-minute stint, which is good for a young player who hasn't really played all that much. The second half, it was a little shakier. He did, I think he played a short stint, maybe 5 minutes or so. And there was a little bit more turnover, a little bit more of an issue on defense as well. And it was a shorter stint because of all that and because the game was tightening up. And so, this is just a really difficult situation for him right now. It's clear that he does not have the trust of the coaching staff to play extended minutes. At the same time, I don't know how he earns that trust and shows that he is capable of more without getting more runs. So it's a little chicken and the egg kind of situation right here. And I think that if there is one benefit to Anthony Edwards' injury freeing up like 37 minutes a night, I hope to see Rob Dillingham get 12 to 15 minutes, maybe, and then on nights where he's playing well, get up into 18 and near 20 and just let him go and give him that consistently, because I do think he's at a point where he needs to be out there playing to try and get some kind of confidence and try and get some kind of feel for the game established. And he's just not going to be able to do that sitting and watching on the bench. And that may mean that the Wolves end up losing a couple of these games, or that may mean that they just don't play well in his time. But if you're looking at the long haul and the big picture, at least getting a true evaluation of what you have in Dillingham would be helpful during this stretch. And we just haven't seen it. And I don't necessarily think it's because Finch is being unreasonable and not giving him a chance. I do think that it's a trust issue, and I just don't know how they get over this bridge unless you just get him out there and play and really give him some good look. He hasn't had much of a chance to do it, and maybe this will be the opportunity that brings that around. But it should be expected that a 21-year-old point guard is going to give you inconsistent performance within games and from game to game, but you just got to kind of let him grow through that a little bit.
Does Finch ever use a benching or a lack of minutes as a message, or is he simply going by his principles? Hey, you got to be playing at a certain level for me to give you minutes.
Yeah, no, the way that he has operated this point guard spot does kind of show how he looks at doling out the minutes, in that it's not a punishment of Rob Dillingham that's going on right now, but it is a message to him that, hey, we need you to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and we don't think you're there yet. That's why Bones Highland is playing over Rob Dillingham. And you look at, that's why Mike Conley is playing and was playing earlier in the season over Rob Dillingham. And so I believe that Finch looks at this and says, hey, Rob, watch these guys. Look how they play. Look at what we're asking them to do. And then when your opportunity comes around, try and do the same thing. And so that's why you saw Rob Dillingham last night or Monday night in his stint being kind of like over facilitator, like really trying to be more of a Mike Conley and just getting the ball moving side to side, trying to find people in their spots and get them going and not looking for his own shot that much. And so it seemed like a conscious decision on Rob's part to play that way, because I think he believes that's the way that he's going to earn more minutes for this team. And that's what Chris Finch and the coaching staff have really been trying to instill. But it's not a situation where, hey, you stink, so we're not playing you. It's, hey, we need you to learn and figure this out. And once you're ready and once you show you have a handle on what we need from you, and then you're able to execute it, then we'll give you more time.
Is there a point guard guru on this coaching staff?
Well, Pablo Prigioni played point guard forever and ever. And so I know that he's worked with Rob. I know that, Chris Hines, who is Ant's guy, has worked with Rob a lot. And like, it's kind of taken a village to try and, get him ready. And, I just can't underscore the trickiness of this enough, of really trying to get a young, undersized player to get some experience and feel for the game's most demanding position on a team that is trying to win a championship. Like, that's just a really difficult thing to do, but it requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of effort on the player's part and a lot of diligence, but the coaches are also going to have to be okay with him going out there and struggling a little bit. And even if he goes out there, Jim, and just really does not play well for 2, 3, 4 games, I think you got to keep running him out there, because either he breaks through and starts to play really well and figures things out, or it's a real determination of, you know what, maybe this isn't the guy. And maybe we got to kind of go and look at other options. But I think it's still way too early in the game to make that determination. We just have not seen enough yet. And so it requires moving forward with a plan of him being in the rotation and just kind of getting time to really sink or swim.
How would you rate Dillingham defensively at this point?
So Chris Finch has talked about this, and I agree with him. He certainly is a target defensively. He's undersized. He needs to get stronger, and you can see opponents going after him. But I will say that I actually have been kind of impressed with just the overall effort on that side of the ball. He knows what his weakness is. He knows that this team needs him to be decent on that end. And you can see him fighting to try and not be a complete liability. And so, there are certain players who you can see are not defensive players and just don't want to put in even any of the effort to even try to be one. Dillingham is trying his ass off, and he's trying to be disruptive. He's trying to get into the passing lanes. He's trying to do things to, kind of help the defense and cover up some of his, size disadvantages and things like that. And some games he does it better than others, but I think all you can ask of him in those situations is just give your best effort and really try and get after it. And he is doing that. And so I don't think he's ever going to be at a point where you look at him and he's a plus defender, but you hope that on a team with Anthony Edwards, with Jaden McDaniels, with Jalen Clark, with Rudy Gobert, like with, just the size and the defensive acumen around him, that they should be able to help him out with that. Now, the team as a whole has played terrible defensively to start this, but they have defensive players and defensive minded guys who can be out there and help him. And so it should be a good situation for him. But I do overall appreciate that he's given his best on that end and doing what he can to mitigate the shortcomings that he has, literally and figuratively.
So let's get to the problems on defense here. But first, let's hear more about Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
We also want to thank TSR Injury Law. We had Steve Terry on the show recently to help preview the season. 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. You know the story by now. They're big boosters of local sports. They're particularly interested in the Timberwolves. They're very supportive of the Timberwolves. They've been supportive of this show and our network for a long time now. They're great people. If you're ever injured, they are the people you want to help you. 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. Thanks also to Royal Credit Union.
Choosing the right banking partner for your business is an important decision. Royal Credit Union supports your business needs now and into the future with flexible checking account options and digital tools to help streamline your business operations. Royal also helps take your business further with treasury management services, including ACH, sweeps, and positive pay. Choose Royal Credit Union for business checking. Get started at rcu.org/Royal Choice. Insured by NCUA.
So what is going on with the defense and how disappointed is Chris Finch and a couple of his big men?
Yeah, he's really disappointed. He said after the game against Denver that he would call it concern right now. They just have not looked anywhere near what they expected on that end of the floor. They came into this season saying, hey, we have to get back to being a defense first team. And they were good defensively last year, Jim. They're 6th in the league on defense, but they want to approach the level that they were 2 years ago when they were number 1 by a mile. And what we have seen so far in these first 4 games is not just that they are not a good team defensively, they've been a bad team defensively. And the biggest concern that Chris Finch has right now is that Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels, the 2 all defensive caliber players that they have on this roster, just aren't playing well enough. I think it's, it goes beyond that in terms of the culprits, and the blame, but anytime that it is going the way that it is going, you have to look at your leadership, in the respective areas. And on defense, it should be Rudy Gobert. It should be Jaden McDaniels. I mean, Jaden has gotten torched by Luka Doncic and Jamal Murray already this season. And those are 2 great players. There's no question he's got a tough, job, ahead of him, but he shouldn't be giving up, 51 and 43 or 49. I think, yeah, Luka had 49 and Jamal had 43. And he's just not making things difficult enough for the guards on the perimeter and not putting enough ball pressure on them. And it's becoming way too easy for guys to get to their spots. And then Rudy at the rim is not challenging enough shots and not grabbing enough rebounds. He had 19 against the Pacers, the very shorthanded Pacers on Sunday. But other than that, he's been really not very impactful. And so there were plenty of times in the Nuggets game where, a Nuggets player would break down someone on the perimeter, get to the rim, and you think, okay, Rudy's going to be there to deter or erase that shot, and he just wasn't. And so Chris Finch did talk about needing those 2 guys to step up and to just be better and lead the way as they try to reestablish some kind of presence on that end of the floor. And Rudy, it was funny because Rudy was very accountable and said, yeah, it starts with me. I've got to be better with that, especially at the beginning of games. I've got to set a tone and be more of a presence and a force on the boards and protecting the rim. Jaden didn't seem to really like being called out, quite frankly. I mean, he was, I guess I got to play better defense is kind of his quote, but it seemed like that one he didn't take kindly to that. And so I don't know if there's going to be some damage control, before the Wolves play the Lakers, on Wednesday night or not. But, if those 2 are going to be ordinary defenders, they're just not the Wolves are not going to be able to play really good defense. And so finding a way to re-engage those guys and get those guys back to what they're capable of doing, I think is priority number one. Getting Jalen Clark healthy. They missed him in the game against Denver terribly. Will be a big help as well. It's been a massively disappointing start to this season for the Wolves defensively. And for all they preached during the training camp and the preseason, it just has not been there.
I have to let my dog stop screaming. He hears me in here and he thinks he should join the show. With Jaden, did he get distracted at all by the idea of building his offensive repertoire? And
it's a good question. Yeah, we asked him about it after the game, and he said no, because he said, look, I didn't take many more shots than I normally do. I just made more against Denver. He played very well offensively. He's 10 for 16, really aggressive, I thought, looking for his own shot and getting to the basket. And so I do think, just watching him, that he did have a little bit more intention on offense with Anthony Edwards out, and it largely worked for him. And so maybe that did take a little bit away from his game on the defensive end. But Ant was there the first couple of games of the season, and Jaden really wasn't all that great defensively in those games. And so I remember last year, Jim, Jaden came into the season and didn't play very good defense early on for the first month or so. And it took him a while to really lock in and start to look like the all defensive player that he is. And so I don't know if he's just in that period right now, but this is 2 years in a row now where it's been a slow start for him there. And he's blocking some shots. He's doing some things to help out, but I do think ideally players like Jamal Murray, who the Wolves have tormented in the past, just don't have the easy time getting to their spots and getting their shots against him that they have before. And so it does seem like he is missing just a little bit of energy, of bite, of edge, just in the one-on-one on the perimeter matchups. He's getting screened really, really easily. So, anytime the opponent's setting a screen on him, he's having a really hard time getting around it. That's also, Jim, where it's probably time to, just at least introduce how much they're missing Nickeil Alexander-Walker right now with how he navigated those screens. And Terrence Shannon Jr. is not up to that level yet at all that way. And so they're just missing a bunch right now. And, Jalen Clark has been their best defensive player by far this season. Now he's out with calf tightness, and who knows how long that's going to last. And so they're reaching and searching right now defensively in a way that I don't think they expected to be doing, this early in the season.
With Rudy, are there any concerns that this is age related? I
mean, maybe. Let's be honest. You ask him and he would say no. He would say he feels great, and certainly he looks great. He looks like he's in great shape. But he does seem just a hair slower to react. He was in the same spot as well at the start of last season. We said at that time, it's like, he's played international ball. They had the trade, making the adjustment, but by January 1st, I would say he was back to himself and really played great defensively down the stretch last year. But every year that you go forward and there's another start like this, you wonder, because he did not have international basketball this summer. They did not have some kind of major trade that has kind of altered the chemistry of this group. And so, for him to kind of come into this season and not be there, as forcefully, you do wonder, is he getting a little old and is he losing a step? I'm not ready to say that yet, but it's reasonable to ask the question, and we just have to see a little bit more, I think, sample size before we make any determination. But yeah, you do worry about that. Is that what's going on here? Is he aging down a little bit? And the one thing that stuck out to me in the locker room after the Denver loss was that Jaden and Mike Conley in particular talked about this group not being on the same page defensively, like not communicating as well. Mike said something about sometimes guys are going rogue a little bit with some of the schemes. And I really did believe coming into this season that was not going to be an issue because continuity, familiarity, like they should be on the same page. They know each other. They played together. And so for that kind of thing to be an issue that they're facing right now, I think is a concern because they should be able to lean into instincts and to playing together in a way that they were not able to last year. And that was supposed to be one of their big advantages. And so far, that's not showing.
Let's talk about Julius Randle, some other players on the roster here. And a reminder, this is talknorth.com. This is the Jon Krawcynski Show. You can also just hear this via our audio, our podcast at talknorth.com. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app is the easiest way to listen to all the shows. We have Roy Smalley, Lavelle Neal, myself on baseball. We have 3 Vikings shows, Russo on hockey, Don Mitchell's interview show, Mark Rosen Sports Monday, Randy Shaver's high school football show, Shaver and Kevin Gorg and our fantasy football huddle. We have a lot of shows. I'm not even mentioning all of them because we have so many. We have multiple hockey shows. We have outdoor content. If you like hunting and fishing, check it all out at talknorth.com. Right now, we are doing the Jon Krawcynski Show and the Viking Update Show on YouTube as well. We also are doing the Randy Shaver High School Football Show on YouTube. So we do appreciate everybody who listens. Right now, we want to thank one of the sponsors who've helped us get to this point, True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, go on in there and just kind of enjoy being supported, educated, and brought up to speed on everything that you can do to help your vision correction. The people at True Vision are so kind, are so generous, are so warm with all of the help and the knowledge that they have and that can provide. And then once they get you to your chosen method of vision correction, it's super easy to get through it. I had LASIK at True Vision well over a year ago now, and it's one of the best things that I've ever done for myself. And what they are able to do is get you educated on the spot to what's right for you, and then they are expert in administering whatever treatment or procedure is going to happen and get you up, back and running as quickly as possible. I had my LASIK. I one day took a rest, woke up the next morning, what felt just great, could see perfectly, and my life has really changed since then. It's been so much easier. So go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, tell them the Jon Krawcynski Show sent you, and get on with living your life in a much freer and easier way with LASIK surgery at True Vision.
Thanks also Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
sglambchops.com. Go there for all of the best casual wear, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, sweaters, pants, hats. They got it all at sglambchops.com. Use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you get there. Super high quality stuff, very comfortable, very stylish. I've said it before. You can wear it out in the North Loop, on a Friday night, hanging out with your friends and having drinks, or you can wear it at home, just lounging around, watching a game, kind of just relaxing. It is that comfortable. It is that high quality. It is that stylish to wear and versatile. So go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops. And at the end of this show, we will answer a Twitter question for a free giveaway from Lamb Chops.
Cool. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We do appreciate it. We will get to that Twitter question here in a second. I guess a bright spot, Julius Randle looks really comfortable in the offense. It's amazing how less he pounds the Brock than he did, this time last year through like January.
Yeah, he's really settled into that role, and they really need him right now, Jim. I mean, with Anthony Edwards out, he's almost kind of switching a little bit back into New York Knicks Julius Randle in terms of being like the center of gravity for an offense. But I think that he's been really good so far at being able to do it in terms of looking for his own scoring. But as you said, also not just like occupying entire possessions with the ball in his hands and not having anyone move and benefit from his passing ability, which is very good. And so, I do think that they're going to need him probably to score just a little bit more going forward because he is so consistent and reliable in that area. But he's doing a good job right now of just being kind of the main quarterback. The point guard issues are real on this team, and you're not going to get the prototypical, number one guard kind of running the show, distributing and picking up 10, 12 assists and getting it that way. That's just not what is going to happen with Mike Conley, DiVincenzo, Dillingham, Bones Highland, that sort of thing. And so in the absence of that, Julius Randle has to be the main facilitator as well as an aggressive scorer. And he's got to walk that line. And I think largely he has done that well to start this season. There was a little bit of period in the second half against Denver where his impact offensively waned and wasn't quite there. But all in all, he has been a great presence. He's making great decisions and he's doing everything that he can to keep this offense humming. I mean, even in the Denver game, offense really wasn't the issue without Ant out there. It was all defensive related. And one of the reasons that offense kind of moved along well enough to be competitive is because Julius Randle was really kind of had his hand on the trigger and was just guiding this offense. And I like the way that Chris Finch put it a couple of games ago. He said, that Julius Randle is calm for us in the offense. And he just does seem to be playing very under control. There's a turnover here or there and stuff like that, but he's not trying to do too much. And he's really trying to look to get others involved and get them going as much as himself. So that's been a bright spot here in these first 4 games.
DiVincenzo, he's always a valuable player because of all the different things he brings to the court. So often, other than, the great stretch he had toward the end of last year, so often I watch him and I go, I just wonder if there's a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? Is that accurate?
No, I think that is fair. He's been a little streaky with the shot, but when it goes in, man, it's impactful. Like when he's knocking down a couple of threes in a quarter, it really does loosen up the defense. It really kind of puts some energy in the building. And that really does help. But I do think he is one of those guys where when you talk about the control and the discipline that Randle is playing with, DiVincenzo's a little more loose. I think especially with Ant out, you're seeing him put the ball on the floor and try and, score at the rim with floaters and things. And I just don't know that that's his game. Though the one thing, I think that'll all come. The offensive rhythm will be fine. But the thing that I've been frankly a little disappointed in is defensively, he has not been very good on the perimeter at all. Now, I didn't expect him to be Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but I've always looked at him as a hard-nosed, gritty player who does kind of make a team feel him on defense. And really, against the Nuggets, there were too many times where one of their perimeter players was just going right by him and getting to the rim and doing whatever needed to, they wanted to do. And so I think he needs to dig in defensively and just really kind of try to be more disruptive. And even if that does mean maybe not necessarily locking a guy up one-on-one, but getting in the passing lanes, creating turnovers, being disruptive in other ways. Because he was getting taken advantage of a little bit by the Nuggets, and they just need more from him, particularly on defense. Defense and shot selection are the two things that he can kind of hone in on and sharpen as we go forward here.
2 more topics. Talk about my favorite player, and then we'll do the Twitter question. I just love Jalen Clark. I love the way he plays. I love what he brings. I love how unique his game is, unique his approach is. He's going to play great defense and then take the shots as they come. And he's also a great guy to talk to, great personality, just really fun. Shame that he went out at this juncture because they could really use him. I mean, what's the upside for this guy?
Yeah, no, he can be an incredibly valuable player on a really good team. We've talked about the trickiness of incorporating Rob Dillingham into this team with how competitive the Wolves are. That trickiness is not there for Jalen Clark. I mean, he is a big time defensive player who doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective on offense. And he just has a very mature game. He's older than Rob, so he has that going for him, but just his style of play is so conducive to winning basketball. And I do believe that he had been, prior to missing the game against Denver, he'd been their best defensive player. When he came into the game, the defensive energy changed on this team. And the closest that they have been to a good defensive team this season is when Jalen Clark has been on the floor. And so they really, really missed him in that Denver game. I'm not sure the outlook for him with that calf tightness. You always worry about calf injuries in terms of, could that be a precursor to an Achilles? And Jalen Clark has already had an Achilles injury. So I would imagine that the Wolves are going to be very careful with him with that. If he's feeling something like that, they do not want to press it because the ramifications can be catastrophic, frankly. So they may take a little bit of time here with it, but there's no question that he is a winning player on a winning team. Like, well, he can definitely be that kind of a player, with just, the defensive toughness. He gambles at the right times. He's very instinctual that way and smart that way. But then also he's very sound in his defensive principles when he just has to sit down and guard. And then on the other end, he's making the timely cut. He's knocking down open shots when they come to him. He is moving the ball. He's just a glue guy that really settles into his role, doesn't try to do too much. And so he is absolutely, a player that looks like a great find by Tim Connolly and looks like a guy who should be here for a long time, having a big impact on what they do.
They do need to get him in shape, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he might be 2% body fat.
Yeah.
Can we get that down to 1.8?
Really struggling. They got to get even more chiseled from the granite than he already is. I mean, it is funny. Like, he's not a big guy. I think he's like maybe 6'3", 6'4" at the most. So he's not a huge guy, but he is so strong and he uses that strength so well that he can guard guys that are much bigger than him and make it tough for them to get down. You can see some of them try to back him down or bully him, and he's just not. You can't do that. He really digs in, his heels in, and he's not movable that way. He has worked his butt off, and he's just a horse for sure.
Yeah, and what you see too is the right kind of strength. He has strength that keeps him in balance. He's not like a top heavy, I go to the gym every day guy. He does go to the gym every day, but I mean, he's not like a biceps guy. I got the big muscles, but I'm off balance. I can get pushed around. His base is so strong. He can stay balanced when somebody's trying to go by him. He can stay balanced when somebody's pushing on him. It's truly like effective sports strength.
Yeah, exactly. And he has the intelligence to deploy it in the right way. Like, we see guys all the time that have all the physical ability, but maybe not the know-how to put it into practice and to be in the right spots and to understand what his opponent is trying to do to him. You could just see the way that Jalen Clark navigates a game. You just know that he's thinking it the right way, that he's anticipating what is happening next, and that he knows exactly where he has to be, exactly what his opponent is going to try to do to him. And so then when he has that going for him, in addition to the physical tools that he has, it's a formidable combination. And he's always beating his guys to the spots and then setting himself up and setting that base. So it's a lot harder for them to get around, to get through. And it's just really fun to watch him kind of just play the game. And it's so much of what he does is off ball, like offensively and defensively. And so much of that work and effectiveness is that way. And it's if you're not watching it possession to possession, you can overlook it. But man, it is really effective.
Let's get to our Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line Twitter question of the week.
Right. Yep. Reminder, sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off at Lamb Chops. And in the question this week comes from Big Hoss Sean. what's the solution for a supposed defense first team when Randle and Nas look like cones out there? And it's a great question because even with Rudy's lack of impact, I would say it's still by and large the gulf between the defense when Rudy is on the floor and when Rudy is off the floor is immense. So they have to do a better job with the minutes that Rudy is not playing. And I honestly think, Jim, that we are approaching a situation where you at least got to try Yohan Beringer in the front court a little bit. He's 18 years old. He's incredibly raw. There's going to be times where he looks like the game is too fast for him, but there is a belief internally with the coaches, with the front office, that he can go in there and protect the rim and grab a few rebounds here and there. And, this is the kind of one of those cases where he doesn't need to be out there for 20 minutes, but I think that if you can even get him out there for 10, 12 minutes just give you some rim protection, it might be worth checking out, because what we saw, case in point, Rudy Gobert goes to the bench with foul trouble. I think it was, I got to remember if it was the end of the first quarter or end of the second quarter. I'd have to look at it again. But then the Nuggets scored on every single possession after he went to the bench in the first half. And it was a layup line. Like they just, with the weaknesses on the perimeter defense, coupled with Nas and Randle not being rim protecting presences, it's just like the seas parting for an opposing offense. And I will give Nas credit. I thought he battled defensively better against the Nuggets than he has all season. But it was still an issue. They just still couldn't get enough stops. And so maybe sprinkling in Beringer a little bit to try and get just a little something else, just a little bit more tenacity at the rim, a little bit more rebounding and athleticism, and just use all of that youthful enthusiasm and energy to their advantage. It might not be a bad idea, because it's been pretty ugly when Rudy's gone to the bench. And so Chris Finch may want to look at that as just a way of kind of changing up the looks and seeing if you get a spark from the youngster.
Good stuff, John. Thanks to Shepard's Good Lamb Chops Clothing Line for the Twitter question. We do appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who listens and watches. Check out TalkNorth.com. Come back to YouTube for the Viking Update Show and the Jon Krawcynski Show. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.